Hello everyone, this is Samantha Whispers. I hope you all are having an amazing day so far. So, as you can already tell, this video is going to be soft-spoken. I'm pretty sure this is the first soft-spoken video I've ever done on this channel. I know I'm technically called Samantha Whispers, but as you can kind of tell from the title of this video, it's a little bit more of a serious topic, so I definitely wanted to do something where it's a little bit closer to me speaking. I don't really have another channel where I can talk about this in a louder voice, if that makes sense. But it is talking about the ASMR community, so I think it still fits on this channel. Hopefully I don't get too heated, because even though I'm talking about a serious topic, I still want to try and keep it calm and chill, like a normal ASMR video. But this is a topic that I wanted to talk about and discuss in a video like this. As the title says, I am going to be talking about the state of ASMR on Twitch. And a lot of you are probably wondering, what is the state of ASMR on Twitch? Well, let me just say, it is a little bleak right now. I don't think all hope is lost in any way. But I did want to bring up the topic of the idea of sexualized content on Twitch basically being disguised as ASMR. This is a big problem on Twitch in particular. I think this is happening a little bit on YouTube as well, but it's mostly happening on Twitch. That's where the biggest part of this problem lies. So I am going to be focusing on the Twitch platform in this video. I also do stream on Twitch. That is kind of my main platform right now that I do stream ASMR on. So I definitely get a lot of questions about this. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about and bring up this topic, is because I get asked about this topic a lot on my Twitch streams, both by people who are members of my community and are just curious about what's going on in the ASMR world, but also it gets brought up by people who don't know anything else and are, for lack of a better word, chatters. Also, by the way, I don't know what certain words are allowed on YouTube and things like that, so there definitely might be words that get blurred out in this video. I just figured I'll go ahead and say them, and then if I look up later, oh, I really shouldn't have said that, I'll just kind of blur it out as much as possible if I can, because I imagine there are probably going to be words like that that I bring up in this video, and certain things that I bring up that probably would get me demonetized, which I'm not monetized right now, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but you know, for the future's sake. So like I just said, I stream on Twitch, so I get a lot of questions about this topic and it's brought up in conversation. But the other reason that I wanted to bring up this topic is there was a viral tweet going around on Twitter in the ASMR community, and it was a tweet by Dexerto. I don't know how to pronounce it, but they're basically an esports and gaming publisher, or, you know, news outlet of some sort. I'm not super familiar with Dexerto. So Dexerto, I'm still not sure how to pronounce their name. They tweeted out on February 10th, so about 5 days from when I'm filming this video. They put out a tweet literally saying, quote, ASMR is evolving. That's all they said in the tweet. And then they included a Twitch clip of a female streamer literally only wearing a sports bra. And I feel like I can't even describe what they're doing with the 3DO mic without having to blurb out what I'm saying. But let's just say they're doing a very sexual act with the 3DO mic, which if you don't know what the 3DO is, I think if you're in the ASMR community, you know what it looks like. It's the mic that's got the rectangle with the two ears on either side, and she's doing a pretty explicit sexual act on one of the ears of the 3DO mic. It is a little bit unfortunate that this tweet went around because it's pretty explicit. But a lot of people were spreading this tweet around and retweeting it and quote tweeting it because they wanted to kind of give their side of this argument and bring up this conversation, which I do think is important. So I think some of you may know why content creators are doing this, or maybe may have some assumptions as to why. These are some of my guesses that I'm going to provide in this video, and especially from my perspective as a female streamer on Twitch. By the way, I've got notes over here, so if I ever look down over here, I'm looking at my notes. I just want to make sure I get all the points I have to say across to you all. So if you ever see me looking down here, that is why. So one of the reasons that these content creators are doing this is just in general, it's really hard to get attention on Twitch. The Twitch algorithm is honestly not the best. It is just, in my opinion, uncomparable to YouTube's algorithm. Basically, with Twitch's algorithm, if you're not XQC, you're not going to get noticed as easily. You're not going to get a lot of views. That's just how it is. So it's really hard, especially initially, to grow on Twitch, I think, but especially as a female streamer, it's, in my opinion, pretty difficult to grow on Twitch. So it makes sense why, especially in particular, female streamers, I don't think I've even seen any male streamers, or at least streamers who identify as male, doing this. So it's definitely the female streamers that are doing this, trying to get more attention to their streams. One thing to keep in mind with Twitch is its viewership and its audience. And Twitch's viewers tend to lean more towards being male. It's not obviously 100% male. I definitely think with COVID and things like that, and I just think sort of the stigma with video games evolving, you know, more girls are gaming and things like that, it's definitely changed, but the Twitch viewership in general is still mostly male. It makes sense. Twitch started out as a gaming platform, which tends to appeal towards males. So that's just how it is. And I would argue it's still a mostly male audience and viewership today. So what better to get their attention than to wear barely any clothing and do acts and noises that are a little bit more explicit to capture the attention of that audience. It's strange because you would think with a platform as big as Twitch, it's not as big as YouTube, might I add, but you know, you'd think with as big of a website as Twitch is, that its audience would be more diverse, and it is getting more diverse. I imagine, you know, I'm a female and I'm on Twitch, and again, with COVID and things like that, I think it's changing. But I think Twitch's core audience and its main audience is going to be male. Also, the other thing to keep in mind too, that, you know, it makes total sense, and it's something that we hear all the time. We hear, you know, the term sex sells, and I think that is something that definitely applies in this case as well. It's something that's been a part of entertainment and media for years. Even in traditional media like TV and movies and things, you know, sex really does sell when you think about it, especially sexualized content that appeals towards the male gaze, as they call it in media. So, you know, keep that in mind. It's a trend that has been going on for years and years and years, even with traditional media. I just think that the guidelines were maybe a little bit more enforced with traditional media. In this case, with sexualized ASMR on Twitch, in my opinion, is a little bit more of a problem. This is not anything new. This is obviously something that's been going on for years in all forms of entertainment. Now, you all might be wondering, why is this content bad? It's not hurting anybody, which in most cases that is true, but there's, I think, quite a few problems with it. And I want to say, first of all, I'm not trying to be like a grandma where I think all sexualized content or sex in general should be demonized and be like, you go to hell for this. You know, that is not what I'm saying, and I'm going to kind of explain my point on that further and later on in this video. But you know, I'm first going to talk about why this is an issue, and also just an issue for me personally, I think, as well, especially as an ASMR streamer on Twitch. This definitely relates to me a lot. So I'm just giving kind of my views on it and just other reasons why I think this is bad. So just keep an open mind, watch the whole video for all the points that I have to say. But yeah, let me continue on with the video. What I think is the number one reason why this is bad, for a variety of reasons, is you have to be over 13 to be on the platform. You have to be at least 13 to be on Twitch. Obviously, I can imagine there are ways that you can get around this, lie about your birthday and things like that, which makes this point even worse, I would argue. But you have to be 13 to be on Twitch. And most sexualized content in any form, you typically have to be 18 plus, obviously, to see some of this content. So it really irks me and makes me really mad that this type of content is available to literally children and people under 18 years old. And so that is something that I think is terribly wrong. And it's, makes it easier for people under 18 to find. So that is definitely a problem in and of itself. So yeah, the fact that people under 18 can easily find this content is something that's really disturbing to me. And then my point kind of along with that, which I think goes with that point, making it easier for people to find. These streamers, they tend to get a lot of views. Again, this platform is a mostly male viewership. So those males are drawn to those kind of streams. They find it interesting. They, usually a little thumbnail of the stream shows up. They might see it and think, oh, she's a really attractive girl and go into the stream. They're easily attracted to those kind of streams. And not all of them are, I'm not saying all men are like that, but, I'm trying to describe what this is like and what is happening with these ASMR streamers. So they tend to get a lot of views. They get a lot of subs, they get a lot of followers. And whenever you're live on Twitch and you get a lot of viewers, like I said, when you have a lot of viewers, you get pushed to the top of a category, to the top of a list. So let's say you're on Twitch and you're trying to find ASMR content, and Twitch has it all separated into categories depending on what game you want to watch and things like that. And ASMR is considered like a game category on Twitch. If you're not familiar with Twitch or aren't on Twitch that much, it's separated into categories, and ASMR is its own category. So let's say you go to the ASMR category, you're trying to search for someone new, you're trying to fall asleep, you're trying to relax, and typically it's organized by the streamers who have the most views at the very top. And typically, at least what's happening right now, is that the more explicit ASMR streamers are at the top of the list because they're more interesting. They've got, that wow, they're like, oh, what's happening there? Oh, she's showing a little bit of, this said body part. Again, I don't know what I can say on YouTube. And so, of course, that, that attracts people. That makes people more interested. So it gives them more views, more subs, more followers, all of that. And it pushes streamers who are not trying to be sexual or explicit in any way down towards the bottom, which makes it harder in a variety of ways. So it makes it harder for people who are trying to find the less sexualized content, who really are trying to find ASMR that really will help them relax or really will help them fall asleep or just, help them chill out for a moment. So it makes it harder for those people to find that kind of content. And then also it makes people who are trying to find that content, it makes them believe that on Twitch, the only type of ASMR that is on Twitch is sexual or explicit content, which is absolutely not true. Or even worse, that ASMR is only sexual, because that is what they see on Twitch. They may have never heard of ASMR before. I never watched ASMR before I did ASMR content myself. So they might be like, what the heck is ASMR? They go to the ASMR category on Twitch, see that it's people doing ear licking and a variety of triggers that are similar to that are more sexualized ASMR triggers. And they think, oh, this is what ASMR is, when that is just simply not the case. And then the last point that I have to say about why this is bad is that, you know, there could be a day where these more explicit ASMR streamers, they do eventually face consequences in whatever way that may be. They may get banned, or there might be something kind of like what happened with the DMCA a few years ago, where it's just a mass like clean out basically, where there's a lot of bans or a lot of strikes of some sort. And so with that, I think there will also be consequences for the non-sexual ASMR artists as well. So I think, you know, obviously the more explicit ASMR artists, they are going to face those consequences. But I think in the long run, both on Twitch and even on YouTube, I don't know how much of this happens on YouTube. I'm mostly talking about Twitch here. But I think it also can have consequences for ASMR artists like myself, who aren't doing ASMR in a sexualized way, but yet they're kind of just saying plain, you know, all of ASMR is bad. It's not really what they're trying to say, but, you know, like I said, they might do some big clean out of the ASMR category or ASMR content. So that potentially could affect the ASMR artists who are trying to put out content for every age group. So that is something that I'm worried about. Hopefully that doesn't happen, and hopefully the channels that do get consequences are the one that are doing the more explicit content, but you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. And this leads me to Twitch's TOS, or terms of service. I'm not going to go heavy into this because it's obviously got a lot in it, so I will leave links for Twitch's terms of service down in the description box below if you're curious. But I do want to touch on a couple things in TOS. So again, even more reason that you know, there's a chance that these more explicit ASMR channels and content could face consequences. So there is something that I want to point out in Twitch's TOS, as I like to call it. It's in section 9.I, so it's literally the first point in the section, which is titled Prohibited Conduct. So it's literally content that is prohibited on Twitch. So basically it's saying in this first point that you cannot create, upload, transmit, distribute, or store any content that is inaccurate, unlawful, infringing, defamatory, obscene, pornographic, invasive of privacy or publicity rights, harassing, threatening, abusive, inflammatory, or otherwise objectionable, which I think that last point is interesting. Obviously, the pornographic is probably a little bit closer to what we're talking about today, but anything that's objectionable, that's an interesting thing to add on there. And then if you go further into Twitch's TOS, they literally have a whole section on nudity and sexual content, and they even include a whole section on sexually suggestive content, which is kind of the category that I feel like the explicit ASMR category kind of fits into, which basically they say is prohibited. So they're saying it's all prohibited, and I think a lot of different points that they have on here can definitely fit into what the explicit ASMR content is like right now. So I'm not going to go fully into that. I'll leave a link for that down below. But yeah, I think there's a lot of behavior in the ASMR category that definitely fits into the sexually suggestive content, which they say is prohibited. So those were my main points of my argument, for lack of a better word. I don't think this is okay. I don't think this is okay to have on Twitch or really any platform that is for under 18. I really don't think it is okay. But I do want to go into some points that I just want to go a little bit further on. I first of all want to say that, Twitch is not the place for this kind of content, but there are other places for this kind of content. I'm not saying that we should never allow this kind of content. I just don't think a website that allows people under 18 should have this kind of content, in my personal opinion. Call it what it is. Call it what it is. Don't hide it. A lot of creators, maybe not purposely, but some maybe are purposely. I imagine it's a mix of both. They're trying to hide it. It's like you're obviously trying to break TOS and trying to skirt around it by making it to the ASMR category. The other thing I want to bring up too, which I know is kind of getting more into sort of the positive points I have about this situation, but the other thing I want to bring up too is that not too long ago, this is probably about a year or two ago, I forget exactly how long ago, but Twitch literally created a category called pools, hot tubs, and beaches, literally to kind of counteract this problem, because it not only was happening in the ASMR community, but just on Twitch as a whole. I don't know necessarily how I feel about that. I really, in my opinion, just think it should be off the platform, but I do think having a separate category for it makes it a little bit better. But I just feel like it makes it easier for people to include more sexually suggestive content, which again is technically prohibited in Twitch's TOS. But that's just what I think. Kind of going on the rant I was saying earlier, it's like, call it what it is. Call a spade a spade. You are doing sexually suggestive, explicit content and disguising it as something else. You're disguising it as ASMR. There are so many other sites that will allow this kind of content. There are places you can put this kind of content, and there are places that people will enjoy this content. But I just don't think that it's right to be putting it on a website that allows people under 18. Hi there, this is Editing Sam here, popping in here for just a quick moment. There is one point that I want to bring up that I forgot to mention while I was originally recording this video, and I think one of the reasons that a lot of these creators are disguising their sexualized content as ASMR is because I know that in a lot of other countries, websites like are banned, so really their only way to find that type of content is on websites like Twitch. That's kind of their way to get around it. Technically, those type of content creators are meeting a need for those people in other countries, which, I think if you're meeting a need, you do deserve to be compensated. I do think that is important. Obviously, I don't think that sexualized and suggestive content like that is super crucial to have in your life necessarily, but there is a need for it out there in countries that don't have as easy of an access to it. So obviously I'm an American, I'm in the US, so I'm not 100% sure on how that situation is over in other countries. But that is a point that I do want to bring up that technically would be a pro for the other side, and why some of this more sexually suggestive content should be allowed on Twitch. So that's just something that I do want to bring up, and I know some of you probably would bring up anyway. So I just thought I would include that in here. Just another point to bring up here in this argument. This point goes back to what I was saying before, how I'm trying not to be an extremely conservative grandma here. I don't think that we should shame sex either. And, this is a whole other video, a whole other topic. I really don't think I could do this kind of video or this kind of topic justice. But I really truly think that it stems back to the problem, especially in America, that we have with a lack of sexual education, and honestly just the stigma around sex in itself. Obviously, sex is a big part of human life. None of us would be here without it. I feel like honestly sex in an educational way should be discussed more in a safe way, where people can ask questions and not feel shamed about it and not feel a stigma towards that. So I do think that is really important, but I just obviously don't think that having explicit ASMR content like this on Twitch is going to help this problem. I just personally think it makes this problem worse. And along with that, I think it would make the viewers a little bit less understanding of the content creator and a little bit less respectful of the content creator, even if they are doing more sexually suggestive content or sexual content. I would argue even would make it worse for content creators who are doing sexual content on, other platforms. I think this definitely, if you really look deep down, goes to a bigger problem that we have in society, which again is a whole other can of worms. Also, I don't want it to make it sound like that I am, obviously I'm a female myself. I don't want it to come off like that. I really do think that I really support these women in particular, or, those who identify as female, making a living, girl bossing in a good way. Let streamers like, Amaranth, I'll do a little name drop here, let her make her coin. I love that they're thriving and doing well, creating content. And that is something that is incredible, and especially if they're okay with it, if they're okay with exposing their bodies or just themselves like that and doing that kind of content, if they're okay with it, what am I to judge? If they're comfortable with it and are willing to make money off it, what do I have to say about that? But I just think that having it be, again, available to people under 18 plus on a platform like Twitch is wrong. But that doesn't mean that and it doesn't mean that I don't support women and don't support women wanting to start their own business, have their own careers, and make their own money, because I fully support that. And I think they should do that. I just don't necessarily love the circumstances that it's in. And the last point that I want to make is that if you are someone who enjoys watching this kind of explicit content, whether it's on Twitch or otherwise, whether it is for, sexual pleasure, or if you truly do like this kind of content, like the ear licking and things like that, like those kind of triggers, if those really help you to relax or help you to go to sleep, like in like a more traditional ASMR type of content, just know that it's okay. I'm not trying to shame your viewing preferences in any way. I think that is okay. If you enjoy that kind of content, I just don't think it belongs on a platform. Again, I'll harp on this over and over again. I just don't think it belongs on a website that allows people and users under 18. But if you enjoy that kind of content, just know that it's okay, and I'm not trying to shame you. It's not for me personally. It's not something that I plan on ever doing. I don't know if that will ever change, but I'm definitely not planning on doing that kind of content. I'm not planning on doing any triggers like the ear licking or anything like that. That's definitely not my plan. I'm not very comfortable with my body as it is, and again, that could be a whole other video. But that's just not something I'm comfortable doing as an ASMR artist. And it's not something that I enjoy watching either. But if you do enjoy that content, and if you enjoy creating that content, I think you shouldn't be ashamed for that. I just, again, personally think there are a lot of issues with it being on a platform like Twitch, as I explained earlier. But again, I feel like you shouldn't be shamed for that, because it furthers the problem of the sexual stigma in general in our society. So again, it all goes back to that. So again, if you enjoy consuming that content or creating that content, I don't think you should feel ashamed about that at all. So there you have it. That is my video on the state of ASMR on Twitch in the current moment. Obviously, not every ASMR creator on Twitch is like that. There are so many amazing creators who don't do sexualized content. They do amazing work out there, and that's what's really cool. In particular, with my Twitch streaming journey, I found so many incredible people on the platform. You just kind of have to dig to find them a little bit. And, you know, there are some ones that are really popular who do have a lot of views that don't do sexualized content. There's just so many great streamers out there and YouTubers out there as well, but we're talking about Twitch here. If you just keep digging in the ASMR category, you're sure to find one of us if we're live. So, you know, right now, Twitch has got a little bit of both. Unfortunately, we're a little bit more hidden, I would argue, but we're out there if you find us. So that is it. That's all I have to say. I'm honestly kind of glad I made a video like this because, again, this gets brought up in my Twitch streams quite a bit, and I do enjoy talking about this. I don't mind answering questions about this at all. So if you have any more questions or concerns or something that I did not bring up in this video, definitely leave that in the comments section down below. Please be civil. I don't know how the comments section is going to be, but you know, I want to have, you know, a civil discussion with constructive criticism, but also I just would love to hear your opinions on this. I'd also love to hear any other streamers that you like who don't do sexualized content. I'd love to have you leave those down in the comment section down below. All right, so that's going to be it. So if you can, definitely leave a thumbs up for this video if you enjoyed this video, and definitely subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I would really, truly appreciate it. But other than that, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day or night wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.